There we go. All right. It is Thursday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. I think that's something you can be happy about. Nobody's wearing green. Surprise. Anyway, everybody forgot. That's all right. We're all on the internet. We aren't going to get pinched. It's fine. All right. So today, general announcements as usual. If you want to make a donation to Backdrop CMS, you can do that at backdropcms.org/contribute. We hand out a fantastic Dragon t-shirt for a $25 donation. Everyone should have gotten your Dragon t-shirt since last week. Yes? No? Maybe? Yay! Okay, good. And hoodies get handed out for a $50 donation or more. You're, of course, always welcome to contribute code or documentation or feedback on any of our issues. It's equally appreciated. You guys may have noticed there's a new version of PHP Storm out, so if you haven't tried it yet and you're itching to try it, we have free licenses available for contributed developers to Backdrop CMS. So if you're a member of the contrib group, you can make sure that membership is public so that the PHP Storm folks can check on it, and then we can send you a license. If you're not a member of the contrib group and still want a license, you'll have to get yourself to be a member of that group first. There are definitely ways you can do that. You can volunteer to co-maintain some recently ported modules. You can help manage issue queues on things. You don't necessarily have to be a coder. But if you want PHP Storm, you're likely to be one anyway. So hopefully that will work out for everyone. All right. Updates from the Project Management Committee. Last week, I think we announced that we added a new member. 2 weeks ago? Last week? Anyway, we're working on reviewing 2 new applications right now, or nominations, I suppose, for PNC members, so we should have some more updates in the near future. Nate, Mike, and Wes, there's one issue in the queue right now that I think needs to be discussed and then voted on. And then I'm going to post another one today for the follow-up one, but I figure we'll do them one at a time. So very exciting. We're growing our management structure, which will help Backdrop grow, we're hoping. And then as soon as we get our PNC nailed down, we'll start talking about adding core committers, but we figured we should have a group of people who could make decisions about core committers before we just started adding everyone all at once. So hopefully we'll get this all organized and settled, and then Backdrop will win. It'll be great. Okay. So we currently have several constituents that we're trying to get represented in the Backdrop PMC. We're looking for a non-coder site builders type. We're looking for someone that is very familiar with lots of contributed modules, so understands the APIs really well and how changes we make might affect things that are using those APIs. We're looking for a company representative, for somebody who owns or runs a web development company. It doesn't necessarily have to be Backdrop. It could be Drupal. It could be WordPress. It could be all of the above. And we're also added a new item last week was to see if we should have a representative from a hosting company or a sysops type that might be able to weigh in on performance issues or how changes we make might affect companies that are interested in supporting like a one-click install or something like that. So we can figure out whether that's a good representative to have as well, and if so, fill that spot as well. All right, so keep your ears open for new PMC members. That'll be the next 2 weeks probably, and we will turn it over to community growth. Nate, do you want to pick that up?
Sure. Maybe we can, once we grow our PMC, we can distribute more of these responsibilities. Okay, so community growth. So there are currently 231 total projects for Backdrop CMS on GitHub. 231 is 2 new projects since last week, Math, Jax, and Auto Logout modules, which are exciting new projects out there. We also have 2 new contributors, one of which posted that MathJax module. Welcome, Robert Scalas. And auto log out, hang on. There's another person. Oh, that was Graham. Anyway, two new contributors. I feel really bad that I don't know who they are. It's because I'm not the only one reviewing contrib applications, so I don't see everything that comes through, which is fantastic. Let's see. There are 153 total projects with official releases on backdropcms.org. That's one new project that has its first release on backdropcms.org since last week. There are 207 total releases of all of those projects, 3 new releases since last week, and 115 total user accounts on backdropcms.org. Only 3 user accounts since last meeting, but again, we think that that's largely because there's no real reason to register on backdropcms.org at this point other than to claim low user ID numbers. But we'll be building up further capabilities on backdropcms.org, so that'll incentivize more people to create accounts once there's actually something to do there. Okay, that's it for growth. We can go right into infrastructure. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happened this week, mostly thanks to Gore. And when we get down there, Gore's here, so he'll be able to give an update on our GitHub automation section. But first, let's see, usage statistics and analytics. We finally deployed the number crunching analytics script last week or the week before. So now we actually have usage information on backdropcms.org about how many backdrop sites are out there. We know there's around 200 that are reporting usage right now. But what that actually means, we're not totally certain about that yet. We still need to go back through and confirm the numbers to make sure Travis isn't getting in there. And I haven't looked at the numbers since last week to see if we suddenly got a spike because of pull requests firing usage updates, but they shouldn't do that anymore. We should have fixed that, so we'll be posting the usage totals publicly here in the near future, which is great. Let's see, we also have a couple of issues to follow up on that. We'd like to make it so the update module starts reporting more information than just what projects are being installed. There's an issue in the backdropcms.org queue, issue 99 for that. And issue 98 is an issue just that we want to add some theming or a custom module to backdropcms.org that shows the usage data as a chart. Right now it's just a table. So those are both follow-up issues that we'd love to get addressed in the near future. Drush for Backdrop. Drush for Backdrop, we have apparently still an issue in the main issue queue, issue 47, for getting Drush working with Backdrop. But the fundamentals of getting Drush working with Backdrop have kind of been there in place for a long time. We have a Drush extension now that lives in the contrib group, backdrop contrib/drush. And it's an extension you drop in to your Drush install or into your home directory, and it makes Backdrop identify, or makes Drush identify Backdrop. Yeah, it might be kind of broken right now. I think it actually works with Backdrop, but we're still having that funny issue where if you have the same copy of Drush for Drupal 7 and Backdrop, Drush kind of ceases to work on Drupal 7, which is funny because I tried to reproduce that when we were at Sandcamp when I had Greg Anderson's ear, but I couldn't reproduce it at the time, and I thought it must have gotten fixed. But then I went back home, and of course it started happening again.
I also spent a bunch of time last week trying to get it going again, and I think Drush 8 or Drush's master branch has diverged significantly from Drush 8. And so if you're trying to run the Backdrop extensions on Drush master, it does not work anymore. And so you have to go find like the tip of the Drush 8 branch to run it with. And so it's a little tricky. So I tried to update the documentation last week to mention that. But then even on the tip of the Drush 8 branch, there's some stuff that was working before that isn't working anymore, like the cron command, which is what we were telling people to use to try and test and see if Drush worked. that doesn't work. And then the drush status command also doesn't work right now because it's not allowed for backdrop to run drush status. So we're kind of in this situation where like some things work, but we can't tell what works and what doesn't, and you have to be on a very specific version um, of drush too. So I think we should figure out like what our plan is going forward if we want to try and uh, get some of the things that I know for sure drush command worked for me like drush cron worked for me a really long time ago, but I don't know where it's like getting hung up now. So we should probably try and figure out like what's changed recently and see if we want to stay on top of those changes in drush 8.
Yeah, what happened, and Greg gave us a heads up on this, is that they forked drush for drush 9. Actually, master stayed as master turned into drush 9 and he forked for drush 8. So now you have to be on the 8.0.x branch instead of master. But it's still the same code, it just changed branches.
Has drush 8 officially actually been released yet, or are they just going on and skipping another version?
Yeah, no, I think drush 8's official now. It's the current release. And drush 8 is what you have to use in order to work with Drupal 8 now. So drush 8 works with Drupal 7 and Drupal 8, but not 6 anymore. Which makes sense, because 6 is now totally unsupported, apparently. Yeah, the largest reason why we're pursuing the drush route is because if we were to get drush and backdrop working together, then Pantheon would start working right away fully with running update.php and cron and things like that, because they use drush on Pantheon to do those operations. So it would make it, if we get it fully working, that those things would just kind of magically start working over it on Pantheon as well, which would be great. Let's see. Next item on the agenda here is GitHub automation. Great. And there's been a lot of great work that Gore's been doing. He posted a bunch of custom modules into a new repository in the Backdrop Ops group, and it looks like they are very promising, and it solves a number of the GitHub automation issues. I wanted to put it in the agenda, but I'll fill those out as we go along in this meeting. Gore, do you want to give an update on what's approach you've taken and how that's coming along?
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
Thank you.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. Sorry for background music. My kid is watching some TV right now, so it will be on the background. So background automation. Very cool stuff that I really want to tell is that because I'm doing some project for myself, it's automation process, continuous integration, and blah blah blah. I was able to hook up basically with a custom module my own fork of Backdrop to automatically create a branch version and also a PR version of whatever code right now in a branch in my fork. And how it works, like I created a website. Is it some way? I just don't remember a link right now. So how it works? It works via webhooks for a branch, for a repository, and when somebody push pull request or apply commit to the branch, this code flying on the server and automatically update website. And for the last few days I was working in even a more exciting part is that we can apply the same to every contrib project. So as soon as like we enable this feature for specific contrib project, we automatically have sort of a sandbox with the same features. If somebody send a pull request to backdrop contrib repository, we have a website called, like, for example, PR7, whatever name is it, QA backdropcms.org, and the owner of the project can actually go and check how it looks like. And also the guy who sent the pull request can see how it looks like as well. So it's kind of automate a process of checking stuff, but it's a general information how it works like, and I'm not sure that I'm presenting it properly, like that it makes clear for you. But if we go with the questions, I probably can answer questions more directly, and it will clarify a lot of small things.
Cool. Yeah, some things that I saw were included. So GitHub Auto, yeah, is the repository right now. It contains a suite of modules that provide the basic integration, and it looks really good from a starting standpoint. Jen and I were discussing beforehand what we should do with these modules. Obviously, you had it set up so that it would be we could throw this in a standalone backdrop website. But from the perspective of maintenance, we were considering putting it on backdropcms.org with our other custom modules, just to make it so that we had fewer backdrop websites that we needed to maintain every time a new version came out. Possibly, I mean, they're so independent right now, they could run on their own install. But for the sake of maintenance, we might put them on backdropcms.org just to deal with all of the GitHub integration all in the same place.
And we also might have future GitHub integration tests that require information from backdropcms.org. Like if we wanted to check your GitHub user account and grant you access to a project that you are a maintainer for, we would need the user role information from backdropcms.org as well as the information from GitHub. So even though that's not included in anything we're doing now, we thought long-term having it all in the same place might make more sense, that we could do a tighter integration between GitHub and backdropcms.org as well. So.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a problem to me. I actually can provide a very detailed how-to, and you can actually install these modules and hook them up, and they will start to work. One thing that I did, if you go to this repository, you will see that it's actually hooked up to automatic deployment. So literally, any updates to master to these modules will fly out on this automatic website, and automatically will be available. Features will be available and working on. So this one part can be discussable, how we can implement it into backdropcms.org, because I'm sure that these features that you said, like hooking up users and etc., it's all need to be implemented. So a lot of new code will come down in this repository. But I don't see like big problems to implement it on original backdropcms.org website.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I think we should work that out back and forth in the issue queue. So I just wanted to point out that that's the way we were leaning, at least so far. But I'll post more in the issue so that's out in the open and not just on this video. But anyway, it's looking really cool. Some of the features that are implemented so far, the automatic associating between pull requests and issues, which was backdropcms.org issue number 4, is implemented. Automatic sandbox creation, that is very cool. I also like the way that that's implemented currently. That's the webhook would go, in the case that this lived on backdropcms.org, the webhook would hit backdropcms.org, which would be great, rather than off to some other service that is kind of outside of the backdropcms.org ecosystem. And then the callbacks for those webhooks actually integrate with a third-party service, which is Gore's hosting company, which actually sets up the database and the sandbox over there, which is great because it means that we don't need the infrastructure to actually host those sandboxes, but we have the control of responding to the GitHub webhook and then posting back to the repository or pull request saying where the sandbox lives. I like the way that that's separated, where the servers are not our responsibility, but the integration with GitHub will be supposedly residing on our servers. Does that sound all
Uh,
accurate?
I will clarify two things. We have actually two integrations. If we take a simple integration for issues, when somebody send a pull request and we check a number, dash number, and we automatically add comment on this pull request that it's related to this issue, it's completely inside of these modules. So
Yep.
you hook up this one directly to GitHub via webhook, and you receive this information about the issue. You do some stuff, and you put a comment on pull request, which is linked together. But when we talk about sandboxes, it's a little bit different. And right now, I'm let's say finishing up, or not finishing up, but adding new features, especially for Contrib, because I really want to show, for example, on Bootstrap Lite Contrib module or Contrib theme. It works a little bit different. So we are hooking up my project GitLC to the Contrib repository or to backdrop CMS backdrop/backdrop repository. And when somebody pull request or push code, webhook going to GitLC project, but just send him, oh, there is a push request or there is a pull request, create a sandbox for it. And then GitLC connect to backdrop cms.org if we will set up it there, and ask, okay, what is the domain name? Where is database? Where is user for database? What's the folder to put code? Where should I deploy it? Backdrop CMS answer back via GitLC webhook. Okay, you have to go there and create it over there. And then GitLC, okay, I got it. You connect via SSH by public key to the server. And okay, this directory, I put code here, this database name, so I start install script with these credentials, and I put result into deploy log.
Gotcha. Okay, so this isn't actually quite, I see. So there's a couple more services in here than it may seem at first. That Git LC is actually the one that is prompting backdropcms.org or wherever this module lives for how to set up the server.
Yeah.
Rather than this module prompting whatever server it is. It doesn't initiate it. It responds to Git LC having already created a server, and then it just does the setup.
Yeah, there is one small step that I forgot to mention. So if you went through the code, and sorry guys that it's getting a little bit too long, there is a module called RP API. And so module RP API, actually this module is creating on my server a domain name, a database, and a user for database, and then send this information to GitLC, use this information to put all this code in database over there. So actually, like, if we clarify everything, we have backdropcms.org that is responsible to giving information where to put everything for sandbox, and responsible to connect to sandbox server and create domain name, database, and user database over there before code get deployed. And then we have a GitLC that actually doing deploy when infrastructure is already created by RP API module.
Okay, wow. All right, so we got a couple of things going on. Oh, that really clarifies some things, though. Sorry, everybody that might not find that interesting, but I think that it's really fascinating, and it looks like it's. I'll have to think about that a little bit more since I'm just getting familiar with it. But it sounds overall like it sounds like it's workable.
Could that be a partial spin up for like a simple test.me type of scenario? Or is that too much overhead on Gore's servers and things like that?
No, it's actually exactly what it is. Gore, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. Like it looks similar, like Travis does. Start virtual server for you and then run tests over there. But the difference is that we don't really start a virtual server every time. We have a shared hosting server is ready to do everything, and everything is already set up. So you just tell server, okay, I need this website, create a database, create a user, and I will pass it back to GitLC to use it to deploy sandbox.
Yeah, pretty cool. So the way that that works right now, Core actually already posted a proof of concept that has it all set up on his servers. That he filed a pull request against one of his own sandbox projects where all the webhooks are already set up, and you can see the pull request being made, and then a server spun up that contains that pull request, and then you can go in and browse it. So the idea basically is every time a pull request is filed, there would always be a sandbox, assuming that the pull request can be merged and things like that. There would always be a sandbox right away of like, this is that pull request ready to be tested on a server environment, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I had the same concern about wouldn't that make a lot of sites? If we had a lot of pull requests, and really overall, like he's got a good point that right now we've only got like 70, 80 open pull requests. Like having 70 or 80 open sandboxes at any given time would be a piece of cake, because it's not actually putting strain on the server if they're just websites that are sitting out there. I think if we probably put some kind of like HTTP authentication in front of things to keep bots and browsers out of it, or crawlers out of it, then we would have zero strain. It would just be disk space, and disk is cheap. So we could probably run thousands of sandboxes without any problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, cool. Anyway, it's all looking very sweet. It's awesome to see that coming along. We'll try to figure out how to work together to get those modules kind of into the backdropcms.org ecosystem in a way that's like lines up with the current approaches that we're doing. Because right now it's just made to just hang out on its own server, which I think was a good start. But let's work on integrating that into the backdropcms.org repository, and then we get that pushed out to production.
Yay.
Okay. Yeah, lots of exciting stuff there. Okay, so other stuff that's on backdropcms.org, I'll hand it over to Jen.
All right, so as you all know, you can log into backdropcms.org now. There are several things that you can do there as of today. You can create a testimonial. You can post an event that you're going to or speaking at or want to hear more about Backdrop at. And you can fill out your user profile. We also are making it, or are in the near future going to make it so that you can add a showcase of a site that you've built on Backdrop, or list a company you are responsible for in the service provider listing. Those are currently underway. And we want to make it so that you can have single sign-on with GitHub, so that if you are already a GitHub user and do not have a Backdrop account, you can just kind of log in rather than needing to go through the process of creating an account. But we could use a volunteer for that task. If anybody loves writing single sign-on solutions, there's one here waiting for to be written. And Jeff, I think you looked at what was available in Drupal land, and there didn't seem to already be a Drupal solution for single sign-on with GitHub. But there are a couple of things that might be useful to look at if anybody wanted to work on that. So in terms of the showcase, we went through and made a list of the information we want to collect about each website, so that if you want to post the companies responsible for it, or various screenshots, or why Backdrop was chosen, we will probably add fields for all of those items, and then we're going to go through a design process and get it so that it's really pretty as well. For the service provider contractor listing, we'll probably just set up a content type for a service provider that you can fill out that's really similar to what's on Drupal.org now, and then we'll just list those on a specific page so that people can find them. And then we're going to put all of the people that are currently signed up as supporters of Backdrop in the footer on that page, at least in the meantime, before we have companies that have filled out their profiles. We'll at least have links to, these are companies that support us, they might be a good try. So if you're trying to find someone to build you a Backdrop site, you can try the companies that said they support Backdrop. It's a great place to start. We're also working on improving some current parts of the site, the modules, themes, and layouts pages, now that we're getting more information from GitHub, like the pages where the modules can be found and the issue queues and the number of downloads. We'll get those going, and now that we have usage statistics tracking, or in the near future we get usage statistics accurately tracking, we'll be able to put those numbers up on those pages as well. So we'll get that updated soon, so people can have an easier way of finding modules, themes, and layouts. And that, of course, follows right in with the project browser too. So that should all tie together. And we've got a couple of design reviews we're working on too. We have this new news/blog section that we just kind of threw up. We're gonna we put on the website. We're gonna have that reviewed to make sure that's in line with our design aesthetics. And then same thing with the upcoming events. Right now it's just a name of an event, a date of an event, and a link to where you can find more information about that event. We'll probably add some stuff like location, and in the future maybe even put up maps or some way that you can filter by your area. All right, so in the news and announcements section, Neat is on the hook for writing a blog tomorrow, which might not happen.
Well,
So we have a couple of other people that have expressed interest in writing blog posts. I don't know, Mike, if you have had any time to work on your config management post. Specifically for Pantheon, they keep their files directory in a different place than where you would ideally like to store your config. And so Mike's come up with a clever solution on how to manage your config files in the Pantheon environment. He's going to write a post about that. Doug Van is not here today either. He had also mentioned writing up a post on Calabox. I'd also reached out to the guys at Calabox to see if they wanted to contribute to that post as well. I thought that would be an interesting collaboration. And then we are going to be attending CivvyCon in the end of May, early June this year. So I thought it would be good to write a post on Backdrop and CivvyCRM working together, but I haven't made any progress on that either. So if anyone has anything they think might be fun and interesting and wants to throw up a quick blog post for tomorrow, we could definitely do that. I know a couple of weeks ago we mentioned, since we don't have a showcase up, it might be good to just do a here's a link to 12 sites that are currently running Backdrop kind of blog post. Like, look, these Backdrop sites are in the wild. And I think in the issue queue, a bunch of people had posted links to sites that they'd made. I think it was in the issue queue. It's not this issue. So that might be something really quick and easy that I can throw together for tomorrow's blog post. So if anyone has anything new, any new websites they want in there, thank you. We can go ahead and throw those up tomorrow too. So that'll buy you another 2 weeks, Nate, for your benchmarking blog post. All right, other things we're working on. We've got newsletter that needs to go out. Last week I said I would write a newsletter. I created a Google Doc, but I didn't get very far in actually writing the newsletter. Yeah, Graham's got a bunch of websites. I know, Andy, I think you've got a couple too. We'll definitely throw up a blog post, a little quick dirty one with a couple of links in it, which I think will be good. And then the newsletter needs to go out as well. I would love it if somebody could review that. I'll whip something up in MailChimp and send out a test. But there's so much stuff that's happened, it's kind of hard for me to figure out what the priorities are. I mean, obviously, telling people that 1.3 is out and it's got user experience improvements and new features and stuff is good. But what else? Like the book, we should talk about. There's a book. We should talk about all the stuff you can do on the website. I mean, I don't know. So there's a long list. I'll pull some stuff together and send out a test. I guess if anyone wants to help me review that and decide what should be in there, that would be great. So let me know. And then, all right, next on the list, Backdrop CMS itself. So 1.3.3 was the latest version that came out February 24th. 1.3.4 is needed, coming soon. We found a couple of icky issues that need to get resolved. So we've got a bug in views and a bug in layouts that we want to get fixed, and as soon as those are done, we'll release them. I don't know if there's been any progress. The problem with layouts was that sometimes your block positioning gets forgotten somehow, and then blocks disappear. So we wanted to fix that one. It was kind of hairy. And then the views one is just when we changed all of the names from edit to configure, one of the links to edit, the name or description of your view got broken. So now people can't change the names or descriptions of their views anymore. But I fixed it. There's a full press that. It's an easy one. It's just kind of, oops, we should fix that. So those two, I think, are important. The layouts one is definitely a bigger deal. It's also much harder to fix. So there's a tag here for 134 if you want to see what's going to come up in that release. And then 1.4 is our next minor release, which is scheduled for May 15th. And we have a lot of hard things to get done for that. We've got a lot of little bug fixes for the rich text editor. We've got a new rewrite for the references module, a new redirect module, a front-end theme that Wes has been working really hard on, and a new set of core layouts. Mike, do you have an update for us on references module?
Yes, I do. I haven't done anything on it because I just moved to Portland, so now I'm in Portland.
Congratulations on moving to Portland!
And we are in our new house now, and eventually we might even get all of our stuff from the moving container company. So, you know, yeah. So now that I've done that, things should actually open up, and I should be able to work on it.
All right. Jeff, do you have an update on redirect module?
Yeah, I've been spending most of my time cursing Nate and Mike for forcing me to rewrite it. Yeah, that has more entity API integration than I thought in terms of the way it loads redirects and stuff. So I just have to go down a few rabbit holes to do a rewrite to make that an object rather than an entity.
Okay. Well, I'm really happy that both of you guys are working on that, and even if you're not doing it right now. So thank you. New front-end theme, I think we got a demo maybe 2 weeks ago from Wes on what that looks like. He's currently using it on a backdrop project and trying to get some experience of how it works as a base theme so that we can, you know, make sure we get that process smoothed out as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that continue to grow. And then new core layouts, I don't think we've made a ton of progress on lately. I think because we have some big thinking tasks to do in terms of, do we want to use the Bootstrap grid system? And I think so far everyone is leaning towards yes, just because people will be familiar with it. But then also once we have that decided, we need to figure out how to actually integrate that in a way that makes sense with core. So that's kind of what's on our plate for getting those layouts done too. We do have an awful lot on our list for 1.4. So we've also carried over a handful of issues that were scheduled for 1.3 that didn't get done in time. So if you want to check what's on our to-do list, there is a milestone for 1.4 in the GitHub issue queue. Some of them are quick and easy, some of them are really difficult, but there's a lot on the plate. So if anyone who wants to help, there's a lot of stuff we can use help with. In particular, there are a couple of user experience improvement tasks that are a bit hairy. We wanted to include the project browser in core. This is something I mentioned a little bit earlier. It'll allow anyone who has a backdrop site to find and install new modules, themes, and layouts directly from their existing backdrop site without needing to visit backdropcms.org to search for modules, themes, or layouts. That's something that I think we got super close on last time. I would love to see that get in. It's going to be a huge user experience improvement for people who are new to Backdrop in the future. It'll work a lot more like WordPress. It's been really successful in WordPress, so I'm looking forward to getting that done. And then the new Field UI is also a huge chunk of work. Field UI has been less than ideal since Drupal 6. So it's been a good chunk of years that we've known it hasn't been great. Trying to kind of rethink that problem and design something that's more intuitive to people is super tough. We've got a bunch of great mock-ups from Wes in that issue. It's issue 779. If anyone wants to work on that, that's also a good place where we could make a big amount of significant improvement in Backdrop if we could get that sorted as well. All user experience issues are always welcome for Backdrop, and we are indicating those by putting UX in the tag or in square brackets in the title of that issue. So if you're specifically interested in user experience or want to help fix user experience, you can either create issues or work on issues with that tag. I saw a whole ton of user experience issues come in just this last week. So depending on the scope of them, if they're little improvements, we can get them at any time. If they're big ones, like a new field UI, we'll probably schedule that for a specific release. The same is true for developer experience issues, since we're trying to make Backdrop software that is accessible to anyone. If you find something funky about how the code works, create an issue and tag it with DX. And again, depending on the scope of that change, we're going to try and get those developer experience improvements in anytime, but if it requires an API change, it'll need to wait until Backdrop 2. If it's an API addition, though, we can get it in sooner rather than later. So as you guys are working with Backdrop, if you find things that are weird, let us know. Create issues, tag it with DX. We can try and figure out what better alternate ways to do things are. So that's all we've got for Backdrop, the product. We do usually have sprints to work on Backdrop every Thursday. So you can hang out either in the GitHub issue queue, which is where we are almost all of us, almost all the time. We have a Gitter channel to chat in, which is pretty good because anyone who has a Git account can jump right in and chat with us there. We also have an IRC channel at Pound Backdrop, and that's super handy because most of the Drupal folks are in IRC, so if we need to collaborate with them on anything, we can meet them there. And those are generally good places to find anyone at almost any time. And we also have a Reddit, which is reddit.com/r/backdrop. So if you are not a GitHub user or super technical, don't like hanging out in issue queues, the Reddit might be a good place where you can just go and ask questions. It hasn't been getting a lot of activity lately, I don't think, but I think it's a good alternative until we have sort of a forum of our own to hang out in. So if you're interested in what is going on in the world of Drupal and Backdrop, we now have an event calendar at backdropcms.org/events. And if you go there, you can see that this week is, this week is not up there. Well, anyway, this weekend is mid-camp. I don't think the organizers of mid-camp ever got back to me about putting that event on the calendar, but mid-camp is this weekend in Chicago, so I don't know if Andy, you're planning on going. Wes is there, I know. I think we've got a bunch of people that are going to be there this week. I don't know if there's any actual talks on Backdrop, but there probably will be talking about Backdrop, even though there isn't anything on the schedule. Coming up soon, next month, April 7th to 9th, is Drupal Camp Guadalajara in Mexico. I am very much hoping to be there. I love Mexico, and the folks in Mexico seem to be very receptive to Backdrop. They're right in our target audience, so I'm hoping that'll work. And then CiviCon in June 2nd to 3rd, looks like now the official dates, in Fort Collins, Colorado, so that'll be a good one. Twin Cities Drupal Camp, if anyone's interested in going to that one in Minneapolis, is a fantastic camp. I don't know if we're going to be going or not, but it would be good if somebody were to go and talk about Backdrop there, so I know they're open to that. And then Drupal Corn Camp, which is August 4th through 7th. Also a good, friendly bunch of folks there. We had a really fantastic sprint there, not last year, but the year before. So upcoming events. If anyone else is attending anything, giving a talk on Backdrop or not a talk on Backdrop, feel free to add it into our events listing on backdropcms.org. We would ask that you please don't add DrupalCon. We have not yet determined that that's okay. All right. Let's see, if you guys are interested in books on Backdrop, there's a book out right now called Migrating from Drupal to Backdrop that you can get on Apress or Amazon, and there will be another Backdrop book coming very soon called Beginning Backdrop. That's all for the agenda. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk about? Open Q&A. No? All right, well, Eric left. I'm going to write a newsletter really today, and I'll send it to Eric for a review, and anyone else who wants to review, I can send it out. And I think that's it for now. So thank you guys all for coming.
Thank you for doing most of the talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of most of the talking, if anyone is like super passionate about part of this meeting, it would be nice to not have to do most of the talking. So if you guys want to, like, Core obviously did a great update today on the integration part, but if there's anything that you're like, I don't really, I'm not really involved in this part of Backdrop, but I really would like to talk about it in the meeting, that is just as good. So definitely speak up. It's good to have more people's faces on the video too. Somebody mentioned that there's a lot of us in the community and like we should all share whatever. And the way the video works is it takes like whoever talked the most and puts their photo up. So other people would be good. So wanna own I don't know, whatever this is, books. We could do that. All right, guys. Well, thanks all for joining today. We're going to retreat to the issue queue, and I'm going to write a newsletter. So, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
See you next
All
week.
right, bye, guys.